We have a special guest in studio. As promised, David Andrews is here. David, great to see you.
What's up, guys? It's good to be here instead of in the locker room with, someone looking over my shoulder.
Or in the toilet, where you usually call us from when Aaron Salt gets home.
No. Look, you got to fit it in sometimes, man.
Trust me, I know.
Especially on Bill's schedule. I mean, it would be like 40 minutes before practice, and he'd be like, all right, I'm going to give you guys more time today. It'd be like 45.
So it's great to see you, and I know we've reached out and talked to you, and you sent us a text this week that you want to come in, and you're sitting there watching the show with your kids and Mackenzie. Like, where are you at right now? Take us to the end of the year. Like, you had the shoulder surgery, you had a really bad injury. How did the year end for you, and where were you at mentally?
Yeah, it was a weird year because, I knew going in I had this shoulder problem, and it was kind of trying to figure out, what's the best course of action, surgery after last year, and it was kind of more, let's see what happens. And, it just got worse and worse. And then, was having talks about this surgery, and it was like, hey, it could be career ending. Then we talked to another guy, and he was like, I've done 2 of them. Let's try it. And, but look, I could go in there and, something could be wrong, and that would be it. You could go to sleep thinking you're playing, wake up, and it's over. So I was like, I'm willing to risk that. And because I knew if I played, I was going to have to sit out a bunch. And then, I just didn't think I would ever play the way I had to play. And, I mean, being 6'2", 290, there's a certain way I got to play the game to be successful and be happy with myself. So, we did the surgery. Everything went well. And, it was obviously right after surgery, you're really down and out. You're just miserable. You're in a sling. You're, it's getting sponge baths. You barely bathe yourself.
Those are nice.
Yeah, but
Spencer's giving them. It's a big guy.
Probably not when they're mandatory, though.
Exactly. I should have called you, though.
No.
So, you're down and out, and then you start doing new rehab. You start getting out of the stupid sling, and you're feeling better. You're getting strength. And, and so I knew it was going to be a process, but I wanted to go out and try to prove to myself that, hey, I could do this and do it with the organization and for the organization. And look, I said it at the end of the year when I had to do media, like, this is a possibility. Like, you've been around it, Zoe. Like, you're 33, coming off your second shoulder surgery. It's a very big possibility.
Yeah.
And
so, do you feel that they look at it as, okay, here's his numbers played, games played, like, and here's the age, and here's the type of surgery he had. We love the guy.
Yeah.
But damn it, week 6 he goes down for the rest of the year. We're effed.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you feel like that's a concern of theirs?
Yeah, there's dependability involved in it, and it's an unknown.
But you played through so many injuries, you couldn't play through this.
No, I couldn't. And and look, and who knows what would have happened? I could have gotten into training camp, and they say, look, I can't do it, or, hey, David, you're not the kind of player you are anymore. And now they're kind of reeling, and so. Look, it's a kind of business. It's not what have you done for me. It's what have you done for me lately. So, and I didn't do much last year. So, look, I understand the decision. And like I said, do I like it? No. I mean, no player wants that, right? But at the end of the day, I understand the decision. And, as much as I wanted to try it and thought I could do it, obviously, that's why I was doing it. But, I think the team tried to make the best decision they could for the team.
I think the question a lot of people have about it is the timing of it.
Yes.
Is that a question that you have? Because the timing doesn't make sense, because just in the sense that you were still here, you're on the roster, there was no big bonus coming or anything in the month of March. Some players have that set up where if they're still on the roster, there's money to be paid.
Is that guaranteed money we can avoid?
Yeah, from the team perspective, whether it be a financial thing or how they're, trying to put a roster together, there's no difference between now in March or July or August in camp saying what you just described, which is, David, we don't think you can play at the level that you're used to playing at. What do you think? And couldn't that have happened in July and August? Is I think the question that I had and a lot of people had.
Yeah, it could have.
Did you have it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I thought, like, there's going to come a time where either one, I was playing, or two, they were going to sit me down and say, look, it's over.
Yeah.
Or even I would have to go to them. And, I think as a player, right? You know when it's time. Like,
right.
And unfortunately with some injuries, there's no okay, you're good to go. Like, you just,
Yeah.
there's no, like, my dad asked me, like, when are you going to meet with the doctor? You know, and he's going to look. I was like, that's not how it works. Like, there's no, like.
Don't you love dad questions?
That's not how, like, there's no doctor appointment to say you're okay. There's certain time frames and certain measurements you have to hit. And if you hit it, you just try to go out there and do it. And some guys are, you know, you see it all the time. Maybe a guy with a knee, he's fine.
Yeah.
Technically, but he can't play football like you can. So, you know, that's kind of what it was. Timing wise, you know, who knows? Maybe there was.
But when you get cut, like, it sucks because it hits you like a brick wall.
Yeah,
Do you think that, or did you feel that you're going to have more time, like the opportunity to at least rehab and show them you could do something?
Yeah, I mean, that's what
I don't want
thought.
to say was it promised to you, or
No, that's what I was thought. You know, it was like.
So you
look,
thought that?
Yeah, we live here. I'm in the building every day. Like, you know, I was gonna rehab, do everything, and try to play. Now, look, we also just had free agency, so. Who knows? There was maybe someone they wanted in free agency, and
could have been a center that went to Chicago.
Who knows? And I know if I was in free agency, you know, looking at a place and like, all right, well, they got this guy that I'm going to have to compete against. I'm a free agent. I don't want to do that. Like, this guy, you know, has done all this here, and also as an organization, you can create problems when you got
absolutely
a guy getting this much, now this guy's better. Or, you know, there's a locker room problem, whatever it may be. So I understand all that. It's you know, it's an unfortunate side of the business, and you know, who we don't know that. And you know, and the team tried to make the best decision they thought, and you know, it is what it is. But you know, it definitely was not what I thought was going to happen. But like I said, I knew it was always a possibility.
So it felt like you were excited to play for the new head coach, and then Josh McDaniels was added.
Yeah.
You know, me talking to Tom, you and Dan Copen are the two best centers he's ever had.
Yeah, I mean,
you being one.
Yeah, there's not a lot of guys left that have played in that system, you know, and it's, to me, it's not a hard system. It gets said it's such a hard system. It's a very intricate system, and everyone has to be on the same page. And when they are, there's a lot of success because it gives the quarterback the controls to get things right.
But you're an air traffic controller. Like, you make all the calls. Like, it's not that hard for them. You know what I mean?
No,
it's hard on you, and it's hard on the quarterback.
It was harder on Tom my rookie year. That's the only way I survived because I was messing everything up and getting cussed out and yelled at, and you know. But you know, everyone's got to be on the same page. There's a lot of checks involved in it. I think it's a great system because the whole point of the system is not to run a bad play. You have answers to problems within the system. Now, sometimes it's just hard getting to those answers.
It's intricate, yeah.
So have you made any decisions yet about how you approach the next few months, or what do you do now?
I don't know. That's why I'm in here with y'all, you know. So
well, you could do this. So you could do this stuff.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, you know, look, sometimes there's those urges to keep going, and, you know, there's some, you know, do I want to play football? Yeah. Zoe, don't you want to play football sometimes?
I could still play. I was throwing the other night.
I saw you. It looked pretty bad, but I saw you.
Where did you see me from? You in there?
I follow Blue Sky Sports.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was the football.
Kim over there is
It was
the best.
rubber football.
Yeah, I heard you talking to guys like, oh, this is all the stuff we do with footballs.
We're talking air pressure in the football. It doesn't mean anything.
Uncle Rico out there trying to make a few throws.
The football stuff is interesting, though. I love watching the quarterbacks be like, I like that ball. I don't like that ball.
It has nothing to do with air. It's how
it feels.
How it feels.
And I know when I grab, you know, you start to know quarterbacks like
strings.
Tom, I could tell, like, I grab a football and be like, you like that ball?
Yeah.
And some days he'd be like, yeah. Some days he'd be like, no. So,
you guys were playing.
He was very particular about the air pressure in his footballs, from what we understand.
You guys were playing the Jets. You guys were playing the Jets. I was on the sideline at the time. Before I went up in the booth, and I had a live mic down there. They put me on the sideline first. And Tom threw a touchdown pass, and I was down on the 10-yard line. He grabs the ball, and he throws it to me. And I'm thinking, oh, that's a sentimental ball. So I go over and I take the tape, wrap it around Tom's ball. Zone, no, throw the effing ball away. That's how bad that ball was. It was like a balloon. He goes, no, throw it out of the stadium.
Hate it. All quarterbacks do that.
No, he would take balls, Beetle, just throw them off and get it out of here.
It makes sense, though. I mean, you got to throw it. But, yeah, I mean, the next couple months, we're just trying to figure it out. Thought we were going to go back to work, and so, you know, but also it's kind of nice being like, well, we have all this time to do things we usually don't do, you know. And my wife was great because I told her when we decided to do this, like, hey, this offseason is not going to be a normal offseason, you know, and like I got to do XYZ. You know, I can afford to do these 2 things. Other than that, I need to be here, rehab, work out. And she was like, let's do it. So, you know, my wife, she gets it. She's been around long enough. It was a hard adjustment at first, but she gets it now.
Yeah. What can you do right now? I mean, what's that look like when you're rehabbing a shoulder injury?
Yeah. I mean, there's all different exercises, and, you know, I'm technically healed for life, let's call it. Like,
Right.
I was chopping wood at my farm a couple weeks ago,
That's
but
nice.
you know, but now I was doing more like obviously building back my strength as much as I could. Then, you know, it's putting your arm at compromised positions, let's say, that you would get into in football and working that strength. You know, so there really wasn't much. It's always funny to me because you go get an injury, they're going to do 6 weeks of rehab and be like, have a good one, man.
Yeah. See ya.
Yeah. You know, we'll
Right.
do 6 months. You know, it's so
Yeah.
funny. And 3 hours, you know, every day strength training. So it's a different world when you're an athlete, that's for sure.
Right. It's not for raking leaves.
No.
It's, it's for stopping 300-pound linemen
Yeah.
that are coming at you with all of their might.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.